Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for being here. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the markets, essentially what I was looking for today, and just kind of getting back to the basics of how we're looking at the charts, what I'm looking for, what I see, and yeah, just kind of getting right down and to work and getting on those charts. One of the reasons I started this YouTube channel was to really reach out and grow a community of like-minded traders so that we could kind of talk. I could get advice from you. We could, help each other out in our trading journeys. But another reason I wanted to start this channel was because I wanted to learn more by teaching. So I find like when I'm teaching about the charts, it's kind of helping me kind of building that muscle of trading, and just kind of repetition is helping me become a better trader as well. And I hope you guys learn something from the videos, and I hope you are liking the videos, and I hope with me talking about the charts, it's kind of giving you a different perspective of the market, or just kind of giving you a light bulb moment, or maybe helping you to kind of understand ICT from the way I look at it. So this year I am going to be kind of trying some new things. I want to talk about mindset and personal development and kind of just have fun with it. I'd love to do some day in the life action videos of what really goes on in my life, what I'm doing day to day, how my day looks, what it is. So I want to do some fun videos like that as well this year, but really, truly, what I wanted to build from this YouTube video is a better understanding of trading and kind of just sharing my experiences and failures and wins, and just kind of having a story to tell or just look back on and be like, hey, it's crazy because I've come so far from where I was a year ago, So I kind of just wanted to always just have that story of like where I've come from, how far I've come, and where I'm going. So today's video, we are going to be talking about the charts, what I've seen in the charts, what I was looking at. I did manage to take 2 trades today. However, they went into a win and then a loss, but we're kind of learning from these moments, and being able to show you guys and just be real with you guys is something I've wanted to do since I started this YouTube channel. So even though they are a loss, it is something I've always, I just want to be real and kind of show you what I was looking at, where I went wrong, what emotions I was feeling, and kind of just share my thoughts and how I trade as a day trader. So let's just jump right into the charts. We're gonna get to work and kind of do a more detailed version of what I was looking for this morning, what I was seeing, and kind of go from there. So let's start on the daily time frame. All right, we are on the daily time frame now. As you can see, as we talked about, we've been having this really bullish couple of months, and now we're kind of back, not back testing, we are back trending. It seems like to me, it's kind of like we want to take out this low and trade into this daily fair value gap, potentially trade down into these weekly relative equal lows, because when I'm looking at this chart right now, I see we've taken out some pretty substantial areas of buy-side liquidity. And since we've had this run, we haven't really taken out very much sell-side liquidity. Yes, we could say this run down here would have been kind of a, hey, we drew back down into this daily fair value gap and we kind of took out this low right here, these daily lows, traded down into that. But we haven't taken out any relative equal lows or even just substantial swing lows. We haven't taken out any swing lows in a really long time. So I want to see this swing low traded to and taken out, and I want to see this daily fair value gap traded to and in. It would be great if we could see this market continue to make a run for these weekly relative equal lows. But right now, since we have been on this kind of uptrend, I'm kind of a little bit more cautious about shorting the market. However, my bias is sells because we have yet to take out this swing low, and it's been a while since we've taken out any sort of swing low. Even right here is a perfect example. We never took that out. We did have this minor swing low right here. We did take that out by a couple points before trading higher again, and we weren't able to take out this swing low. So I think that small move right there is what caused this kind of up move, plus the end of the year. But it is now January 2024, and there's going to be a lot more news. There's going to be, I feel like, a lot more talk about lowering interest rates. So if that happens, we'll probably see a decline, I'm assuming. But we just have been kind of on this uptrend and haven't really taken much sell-side liquidity out. We just continue to trade down a little bit and then move higher. Trade down a little bit and then move higher. So and we've taken out like multiple areas of this buy side liquidity here. Again, not to say that we can't go higher. I would just like to see this swing low taken out and this daily fair value gap traded to. And if we do continue to push lower, these weekly relative equal lows down here would be awesome if we could trade into those. But for now, my first objective is this swing low right here and this daily fair value gap. So that's kind of like what I've been looking at on the daily time frame. Plus we already took out this swing high right here and we moved lower. So it's kind of looking like, hey, maybe we are going to move lower. Maybe before we take out this swing low, we might want to trade a bit higher and then push lower. But this week is also NFP, so we could potentially see some crazy moves come Thursday and Friday. Be careful, it is NFP week. And today at 2 p.m. we actually have FOMC, so we could see some movement from that as well. Plus this morning we did have news at 10 a.m., the JOLTS news, and that did cause some movement, but it didn't actually take out this low that I was looking for, and we're kind of just stagnant. So we probably could see that happen at 2 p.m. with the FOMC meeting. So this is kind of what I'm looking at the daily time frame, kind of just like an overview of where the liquidity is residing, what my objectives are, and why I'm kind of going for shorts on the daily time frame. Now let's chop down to the 1 hour. Perfect. So again, we can see like we had this crazy rundown, and then we kind of filled it back in, taking out that buy side liquidity. Boom, buy side liquidity. We made these relative equal highs up here, but we did take out these relative equal highs right here with this move. So this could potentially be targeted to maybe in a couple months, because again, I'm kind of looking for that sell side to be taken. I really want to see again this low taken out and then this daily fair value gap traded too. So with that in mind, I'm looking for PD arrays that support that idea. So we did talk about this yesterday about how we had this 1 hour kind of order block. We traded into that, right into the low of that order block while filling in that 1 hour fair value gap. And then we moved lower. We have this new week opening gap right here, but again, we kind of filled it in when we went lower. So I'm not too worried about that being traded to. And we did leave this opening range gap, however, so we could see this be filled. But again, my bias is sells, so I'm kind of looking for things that I'm kind of looking for PD arrays that are going to support my idea of going short. Now, this morning, after we had that kind of push down and then this move higher, trading back up into some of this 1 hour fair value gap, and crazy enough, it comes right down to this low right here. Look at how perfectly that is. So that was cool to see. We didn't quite reach into that new week opening gap or the 50% of yesterday's opening range gap, but We did, after trading somewhat into that 1 hour fair value gap, we had that move back down. Look at how beautifully we closed on that new week opening gap before moving higher again. So yesterday was kind of like we had this move down, up, down. So we had more movement in London session, which is crazy because we can see the same thing happen this morning. We actually had more movement during London session compared to the New York AM session. So that is also something to note. Now on this 1 hour time frame, I kind of looked at this as somewhat of a break of market structure. So we have that break of market structure on the higher time frame. We came back into this 1 hour fair value gap, but what I was really paying attention to was this 1 hour fair value gap. It's kind of acting like an inversion fair value gap. So I drew that out in time, and we can see how the bodies came back down into it, respected it, couldn't close above the 1 hour fair value gap before dropping lower. And seeing this, I was kind of like, okay, we're going to use that as an inversion 1 hour fair value gap so we can see the market continue to move lower. And we did, in fact, get that drop during London session and also kind of like pre-New York AM open. So we see that happening. And we did trade down into some of our sell side liquidity objectives, which was this swing low right here. Again, I wanted to see this one broken because this truly is the daily objective, kind of like there's lots of liquidity resting below here because again, let's go up to that 1 day time frame. That really is the swing low, like the nearest swing low that we could see on the daily time frame. So I was really looking for it to reach into that area. And then since there is this fair value gap right below it, a little bit into that fair value gap. So that's kind of what I was looking for. And that's why I believe, even though we did take out this sell side liquidity with this swing low over here, we are still going to go lower and push below this swing low. So again, who knows? 2 p.m. might happen and we might see that just drop. So perfect. Let's drop down to the 15-minute time frame. Awesome. So we had this kind of 15-minute fair value gap right here. And it was right below the new week opening gap. So kind of my thoughts this morning was, one, it's going to be news. It's a high impact red folder news. Like, we're going to see some movement. It's probably going to go against us before it goes with us. So I just didn't trade until about like 10:05. I was like, I'm just going to let the news play out because the news was at 10 a.m., right? So I didn't want to trade too much. And then we can see this market at 10 a.m. We pushed higher, trading into that 15-minute fair value gap, but also to that low of the new week opening gap. And I wanted to see that happen because we could see like how well the market respects these new week opening gaps. And we kind of filled in that fair value gap with the wick, right? So after that happened, we see a decline on the lower time frames. And then I wanted to get in a trade. However, my setup wasn't forming, like it wasn't, it didn't really form until like the end of the move. So I'll kind of show you what I mean by that on the lower time frames. But seeing the market trade into this 15-minute fair value gap, seeing the market trade into that low of the new week opening gap kind of made me believe, hey, we are going to go lower. And then when it started to decline and we had somewhat of a displacement run, we were looking for our setup. So let's drop down to the 5-minute. Perfect. Yeah, so we can see this market, we traded into that new week opening gap perfectly to this 15-minute fair value gap. I'll label that for you guys. So we traded taking out this short-term buy-side liquidity. So we have like a short-term buy-side liquidity being taken out, trading into a higher time frame objective of the 15-minute fair value gap / new week opening gap. And then with this run, I was kind of looking for a setup to get into the market to trade for these daily lows. Yes, during this, we actually did in fact take out our first objective, which was that sell side liquidity, but I did want to see it continue lower into the daily lows. Now, I was watching this 5-minute fair value gap. So for me, trading off this 5-minute fair value gap, it almost would have been too much of a risk, because we want our stop loss to be at least above that high, right? Above the candle that made that high. However, that's a 6.75 point stop loss, and that's a bit too much for me. We could have put it at the high of that 5-minute fair value gap, but again, like, I don't want to put too much risk on these trades, especially because we are kind of at the low of where I wanted to see the market go. So let's drop down to the 1 minute. I did in fact like how we traded into that consequent encroachment of the 5-minute fair value gap. I did in fact like that we had this displacement run. I did in fact like how we took out that short-term buy-side liquidity, trading into the higher time frame objective of the new week opening gap, of the 15-minute fair value gap. These are all great things. These are things I'm looking for. I'm like, perfect, perfect, perfect. Now, what would have been perfect is if we could have got some sort of retracement back up into this fair value gap to take a short on, or this one, or this one, or this one, before we took out the sell side liquidity. However, it didn't work like that, and that's fine. We then created this 5-minute fair value gap. After that was created, I wanted to see how the market was going to respond off that 5-minute fair value gap. So we actually traded back into the 5-minute fair value gap, but only coming to the consequent encroachment of that 5-minute fair value gap. If we look closer, we also came into this 1-minute fair value gap. So this was actually good news. And then I wanted to see my setup form after this all happened. So we have our higher time frame analysis. We understand where the market's likely to draw towards. We have that break in market structure. We actually can see this small little 1-minute fair value gap right here. And this was my first entry. Right here on that small little 1-minute fair value gap. Because the cool thing is we're still only risking 3.75 points, but if the market breaks this high right here, I know that we are likely to go higher. And if we're aiming for those daily lows, that is more than a 10-point run. It's actually 10.5-point run. So this was my initial trade, trading down. We had that nice kind of displacement down there, and I still wanted to see the market go lower into that daily low, because one, it has like a lot of liquidity resting below it, and it's kind of like so close. I was like, it's so close, it's gotta run for this. Yes, likely story. So I was kind of like, okay, we're gonna just watch and see. And then I wanted to see how this fair value gap was going to be traded as well. Now, since I'm trading micros, I've allowed myself to take 2 trades a day, max, right? So we did in fact get into this trade again, and it would have been well protected above this high if we would have gone lower. And of course, not the best run, but we already had our initial push down, and then we have like kind of our last minute entry there. So I wanted to see the market respect this 1-minute fair value gap as well and push down into that daily low right there. Plus, in my mind, I was thinking, hey, we're coming around the time, it's 10:50. We're probably gonna start spooling price. We're probably gonna push into those daily lows. We're probably gonna, trade more into that daily fair value gap. Like, we didn't even get into that daily fair value gap. So that's kind of what was going through my head. However, we did trade into this 1-minute fair value gap, which was nice. And then we pushed down before the market turned and actually took my stop out here and break even right here. So I am in the loss for the day. Thankfully, we're still in profit on our top step challenge, but that's kind of what was going through my head. Was I wanted to see this market continue to push lower into those daily lows, and I wanted to see this and see if it would have been a good complementary kind of additional entry to my original trade. But of course, the market had other plans, and that's fine. It's totally fine. And yeah, it kind of turned back. We went up to this 5-minute fair value gap again, and then we just kind of came trickling back down, never quite reaching that daily fair value gap, never reaching those daily lows. And now we're kind of making our way back higher into this potentially buy side liquidity up here and potentially this new week opening gap. So I was wrong about the market. This first trade was nice. I could have taken profits, but again, we're kind of learning. I'm learning how to enter into trades, but I'm also learning how to hold my trades. So I did move my stop in profit, at break even, but still it's a learning process for me. So again, I wanted to see the market drop lower off this 5-minute fair value gap, off this 15-minute fair value gap, and just continue lower into those daily lows. But we can see at 10:55, 10:56, we did in fact spool price, but it was against my direction. And again, totally fine. And maybe looking back on it, I should have known like the market wasn't actually moving down here. We were kind of just like choppy, you know, and then we couldn't break this low. So looking back, like maybe I could have realized, hey, probably not the best to enter again. But in my mind, I was like, we're just so close to that daily low. Like that is like an area I've been looking for to get traded to. We're just so close, like we're so close. But maybe it just is gonna happen today or tomorrow or next week sometime, just not this morning. Perfect. So it's kind of like a little bit more in depth about how I looked at the markets, what I was thinking, what was going through my mind, why I entered this sell, why I decided to trade. And yeah, I hope it kind of made sense to you, kind of give you a little bit more insight on what I'm looking for and how I look at the markets. So thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna end the video here. I hope you kind of got something from this video. If you did, leave me a like, leave me a comment. I'd love to connect with you guys, so let me know what you think. And yeah, we will talk soon. Bye for now.